Good morning. Members will please come into the chamber and take their seats. Hope you had an enjoyable Thursday night. We'll take care of our business for the day and get the weekend started. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? Since the hour of convening haven't arrived, all members will please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, I apologize. You'll ring the bell. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will vote green to signify their presence in the chamber. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you... You're here officially. Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machines? Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the lady from the 60th House District, Representative Sheila Jones, who is in her 20th year in this body. Appreciate her service. Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. Our chaplain for the day is Pastor Sherwin Jack, the senior pastor of Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church in Atlanta. Pastor Jack is married to the former Patricia Johnson of Little Rock, Arkansas, and she serves as an educator in DeKalb County. Together they have one daughter, Elise, who is currently attending Oakwood University. He is joined today by Anthony and Helen Murphy of Berean Church. Will you both stand as we welcome you to the House of Representatives? Pastor Jack was born in Trinidad. At an early age, his family moved to Brooklyn, New York. Pastor Jack has been in ministry for over 30 years. He has ministered in several countries across the globe and has been instrumental in establishing 5 churches in the United States. He has trained several interns and conducted workshops and seminars for pastors in several countries. Let us welcome and hear from our chaplain of the day, Pastor Sherwin Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the members of this body for affording us this opportunity to be here this morning to just share a word of encouragement to each and every one of you as you embark upon, I believe, a most sacred and responsible task in governing our state. Join me in prayer this time, will you? Dear God, make us wise that we will recognize our limitations and acknowledge our inadequacies for the awesome task of leading this great people of our state. Make us wise so that we will walk in humility and seek your wisdom to lead as we are being led. Grant unto us a compassionate heart, that we will always seek to do that which will be for your glory and for our mutual good. Grant unto us compassion to govern, that we will one day hear from your voice declaring, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant," is our prayer in your holy name. Amen. Thank you. I will not be long this morning. I just have a few words of encouragement for us today. And I've entitled the brief devotion, "A Prayer for Wisdom." The text that I will reference this morning is found in 1 Kings chapter 3, looking at verses 1 through 5. One night, God appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Solomon responded in a way to God that reflected both his knowledge and his appreciation of how God had dealt with his father David, and how much he needed God's help now that the weight of responsibility for leading God's people now rested squarely upon him. He understood that leadership carries both the privilege and responsibility, and he knew that it was only with God's help that he would be able to carry out his duties as king. In verse 9 of the same chapter, 1 Kings chapter 3, Solomon asked God for wisdom. Wisdom, so God give your servant wisdom and a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people? God was pleased with Solomon's request and responded by saying, "Since you have not asked for long life or wealth, nor have you asked for the death of your enemies, but for discernment in administering justice, I will do what you've asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so that you will never be alone, be anyone like you, both in the past and in the future. Moreover, I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that in your lifetime there will be no equal among kings. And if you walk in obedience to me and keep my decrees and commands, as David your father did, I will give you long life." Just a couple of lessons that I think that will be helpful to us and be a source of encouragement to us as we carry out our duties today. 3 lessons from this brief interaction. Number 1, humility. Humility is a recognition and affirmation that God is fully aware of what we need in order to carry out his will. Secondly, obedience. Obedience to God's word will ultimately work for his glory and for our mutual good. Sacrifice. A willingness to give up our plans to fulfill the purposes of God. Often we will be called to stand, even when we don't understand, but by God's grace and might and power, he will enable us to withstand. The Bible tells us that Solomon was a wise man, and God blessed him tremendously. He wasn't perfect, but he had a heart that was open to the leading of God's grace and open to receiving the mercy of God. In the very last chapter of the book of Ecclesiastes, there's a summation of Solomon's collective wisdom and experience expressed in verse 13, and I leave that with you this morning. Here's what he says. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God, keep his commandments, for therein lies the whole duty of man. As God has placed you in a position of leadership to set parameters, laws, and guidelines for us, the citizenry of this great state of Georgia, my prayer this morning is that each and every one of you will spend a moment of silent, personal, prayerful reflection so that the same God that led Solomon and the same God that imparted wisdom and insight and knowledge to Solomon will impart wisdom, knowledge, and insight to you. And that as you collectively lead, you will be led by God, who is all-knowing and who is all-wise. May God grant you his peace in this most sacred and most awesome responsibility to provide a climate in which all of us as citizens can live out our full potential and be all that God will have us to be. May God's blessing be upon you all. And thank you for the opportunity to share this morning. Thank you.
Pray.
Let's pledge. Thank you. Good words. The doorkeepers, you may unlock the doors. Members, you may greet the Pastor Jack in the South Ante room and show your appreciation for his words and being with us today. Members, this morning our Doctor of the Day is brought to us by Representative Ramon. Thank you. The Doctor of the Day is Dr. Jeffrey Cooper. So if you get an opportunity, go down and greet the Doctor of the Day, Dr. Cooper, and let him know how much we appreciate him being here. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, is recognized. Chairman Tarvin.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journal from the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And a little something else to think about. No one has ever become poor by giving.
That's profound. No one has ever become poor by giving. Thank you, Chairman Tarvin. Chairman Tarvin, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day?
Representative illustration of the 104th moves following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Chair hears none. The resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1279 by Representative Roberts, the 52nd, Draper, the 90th, Clark, the 108th, Miller, the 62nd, and Now, the 50th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2, Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to primaries and elections generally.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 1280 by Representative Hughley of the 141st, Smith of the 138th, Reese of the 140th, and Buckner of the 137th. The bill to be titled Act to amend an act creating the Muskogee County School District.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1281 by Representative Hughley of the 141st, Smith of the 138th, Reese of the 140th, and Buckner of the 137th. A bill to be entitled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Recorder's Court of Columbus.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1282 by Representative Hughley of the 141st, Smith of the 138th, Reese of the 140th, and Buckner of the 137th. A bill to be titled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Probate Court of Muskogee County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1283 by Representative Persinger of the 119th, Ballinger of the 23rd, Hitchens of the 161st, Lumsden of the 12th, Smith of the 18th, and others. Bill to be titled an act to amend Code Section 1511(2) of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to definitions regarding the juvenile code.
Juvenile Justice.
House Bill 1284 by Representative Daniel, the 117th, Crow, the 118th, Vance, the 133rd, Hitchens, the 161st, Collins, the 71st, and others. The bill be titled an act to amend Part 5, Article 22, Chapter 2, and Title 20, and Code Section 46, 163, the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to school buses for elementary and secondary education.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 1285 by Representative McCollum of the 30th, Hitchens, the 161st, Jones, the 47th, Fleming, the 114th, Hilton of the 48th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 4 of Article 1 of Chapter 8 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to horns, exhaust systems, mirrors, and windshields.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 1286 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, Cannon of the 172nd, Williams of the 148th, LaHood of the 175th, Rhodes of the 124th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 23 of Title 2 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Hemp Farming Act.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 1287 by Representative Bell of the 75th, Clark of the 108th, Washburn of the 144th, Daniel of the 117th, Muggle of the 105th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to regulation of specialized land transactions.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1288 by Representative Smith of the 18th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Reeves of the 99th, Gunner of the 8th, Hong of the 103rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 32 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions for municipal courts.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1289 by Representative Gunner of the 8th, Anderson of the 10th, Jaspers of the 11th, Bill be titled an act to amend Article 3, Chapter 6, and Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to driving on the right side of the roadway.
Transportation.
House Bill 1290 by Representative Bazemore, the 69th, Beverly, the 143rd, Lamb of the 98th, Mitchell, the 88th, Hughley, the 141st. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 6 of Chapter 2, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to competencies and core curriculum under the Quality Basic Education Act. Yes, sir.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 1291 by Representative Franklin of the 160th, Fryer of the 122nd, Washburn of the 144th, Werkheiser of the 157th, Camp of the 135th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 4080 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to revenue and taxation.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1292 by Representative Okoye of the 102nd, Burns of the 159th, Abstration of the 104th, Beverly, the 143rd, Reeves of the 99th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2, Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to recordation and registration of deeds.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1293 by Representative Yeard of the 152nd, Smith of the 138th, Dubnik of the 29th, Crow of the 118th, Hagan of the 156th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 4, Chapter 12 of Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to management of budgetary and fiscal affairs.
Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight.
House Resolution 1134 by Representative Roberts of the 52nd, Draper of the 90th, Clark of the 108th, Miller of the 62nd, and Howe of the 50th. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution is to provide that the people of the state of Georgia shall have the power to enact.
Rules.
House Resolution 1135 by Representative Jones of the 25th, Hatchett of the 155th, Jaspers of the 11th, and Ulowitz of the 42nd, Powell of the 33rd, and others. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on credit card fees, on state and excise tax, and their impact on Georgia merchants.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Resolution 1136 by Representatives Beverly of the 143rd, Gilliard of the 162nd, Neal of the 79th, Stevens of the 164th, and Ulowitz of the 42nd, and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the state of Georgia so as to authorize the Georgia General Assembly to provide by general law.
Rules.
Senate Bill 349 by Senator Huffstatler of the 52nd, Albers of the 56th, Estevez of the 6th, Eccles of the 49th, Hannah DeBart of the 31st, and others. The bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to ad valorem taxation of property.
Ways and Means.
Senate Bill 430 by Senators Donald Zal of the 27th, Watson of the 1st, Gooch of the 51st, Robertson of the 29th, Ginn of the 47th, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 16 and Title 51 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to COVID-19 pandemic business safety.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 443 by Senator Watson the 1st, Strickland of the 17th, Tillery of the 19th, Brass of the 28th, Roberts of the 29th, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 2, Title 41 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to abatement of nuisances generally.
Judiciary non-civil.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1262 by Representative Maynard of the 56th, a bill relating to elementary and secondary education. House Bill 1263 by Representative Schofield of the 63rd, Drenner of the 85th, Davis of the 87th, Scott of the 76th, Evans of the 89th, a bill relating to conservation and natural resources. House Bill 1264 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, Jones of the 47th, Jones of the 25th, Irwin of the 32nd, Clark of the 100th, and others, a bill relating to professions and businesses. House Bill 1265 by Representative Westbrook of the 163rd, Stevens of the 164th, Jackson of the 165th, Willis of the 55th, and Carpenter of the 4th, a bill relating to tax returns and furnishings of information. House Bill 1266 by Representative Washburn of the 144th, Powell of the 33rd, Stevens of the 164th, Crow of the 118th, Camp of the 135th, and others, a bill relating to conservation and natural resources, highways, bridges, and ferries, and state government. House Bill 1267 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Gunter of the 8th, Blackman of the 146th, Buckner of the 137th, Stoner of the 40th, and others, a bill relating to state government. House Bill 1268 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, Dubnik of the 29th, Donahue of the 31st, McCollum of the 30th, Clark of the 100th, and others. A bill to provide a new homestead exemption from Hall County ad valorem taxes for county purposes. House Bill 1269 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, Donahue of the 31st, Dubnick of the 29th, McCollum of the 30th, Clark of the 100th, and others. A bill to provide a new homestead exemption from City of Gainesville ad valorem taxes for municipal purposes. House Bill 1270 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, Donahue of the 31st, Dubnick of the 29th, McCollum of the 30th, Clark of the 100th, and others. A bill to provide a new homestead exemption from Hall County School District ad valorem taxes for educational purposes. House Bill 1271 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, Donahue of the 31st, Dubnick of the 29th, McCollum of the 30th, Clark of the 100th, and others. A bill to provide a new homestead exemption from City of Gainesville Independent School District ad valorem taxes. House Bill 1272 by Representative Martin of the 49th, Parsons of the 44th, Drenner of the 85th, and Houston of the 170th. A bill relating to emergency telephone number 911 system. House Bill 1273 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th, the bill to create a Board of Elections and Registration for Evans County. House Bill 1274 by Representative Huddleston of the 72nd, Fry of the 122nd, Dickey of the 145th, Perkle of the 169th, Thomas of the 65th, and others. A bill relating to state veterinary education. House Bill 1275 by Representative Jaspers of the 11th, Smith of the 18th, Tarvin of the 2nd, Powell of the 33rd, Lott of the 131st, and others. A bill relating to the General Assembly. House Bill 1276 by Representative Cox of the 28th, Rhodes of the 124th, Kelly of the 16th, Cannon of the 172nd, Scoggins of the 14th, and others. A bill relating to education and minors. House Bill 1277 by Representative Clark of the 100th, Hitchens of the 161st, Bonner of the 73rd, Barrett of the 24th, Crow of the 118th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to aviation. House Bill 1278 by Representative Moore of the 91st, a bill relating to other state symbols. House Resolution 1109 by Representative Perkle of the 169th, resolution honoring the life of Mr. Neil Waldo McIntyre Jr. and dedicating a bridge in his memory. House Resolution 1110 by Representative Perkle of the 169th, the resolution honoring the life of First Lieutenant Clyde Vernon Moore, dedicating a bridge in his memory. House Resolution 1111 by Representative McLean of the 109th, Okoye of the 102nd, Clark of the 108th, McGall of the 105th, Park of the 107th, and others. A resolution honoring the life of Mr. Percy Scott Jr. and dedicating a road in his memory. House Resolution 1112 by Representative McLean of the 109th, Okoye of the 102nd, Clark of the 108th, McGall of the 105th, Park of the 107th, and others. A resolution honoring the life of Mr. Stephen Day, dedicating an interchange in his memory. House Resolution 1113 by Representative Donahue of the 31st and Green of the 154th. A resolution authorizing the granting of non-exclusive easements. House Resolution 1114 by Representative Maynard of the 56th. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the sales tax for educational purposes may be used and expended for the benefit of public charter schools located within local school systems. House Resolution 1115 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, Crow of the 118th, Leverett of the 123rd. A resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the qualified low-income building projects may be classified as a separate class of property for ad valorem property tax purposes. House Resolution 1116 by Representative Perkle of the 169th and Green of the 154th. A resolution authorizing the lease of certain state-owned property. House Resolution 1117 by Representative Clark of the 100th, Hong of the 103rd, McCollum of the 30th, Efstration of the 104th, McGall of the 105th, a resolution honoring the life of Mr. Logan James Wade and dedicating an intersection in his memory. House Resolution 1118 by Representative Cox of the 28th, Jaspers of the 11th, McDonald of the 26th, Jones of the 25th, Barrett of the 24th, and others, a resolution honoring the lives of Christy Jane, Carolyn Carey Marie, and Tabitha Renee Lawthorne and dedicating an intersection in their memory. House Resolution 1133 by Representative Mitchell of the 88th, a resolution urging the United States Congress to pass the Kidney Patient Access to Technology Innovative and Essential Nephrology Treatments Act of 2023 or the Kidney Patient Act of 2023. Senate Bill 334 by Senator Albers of the 56th, Robertson of the 29th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Dixon of the 45th, and Still of the 48th, and others. A bill relating to minimum requirements, equipment, and clothing and insurance relative to local fire departments. Senate Bill 340 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Albers of the 56th, Hofstetler of the 52nd, Robertson of the 29th, and Navarrete of the 31st, and others. A bill relating to exemptions from sales and use taxes. Senate Bill 389 by Senator Payne of the 54th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Hodges of the 3rd, Albers of the 56th, Hatchett of the 50th, and others. A bill relating to rights, privileges, and prohibitions. Senate Bill 412 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, Cowser of the 46th, Summers of the 13th, Harbison of the 15th, Brett of the 33rd. A bill relating to professions and businesses. Senate Bill 424 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and Brass of the 28th. A bill to create a new judicial circuit for the state of Georgia. Senate Bill 426 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, Setzler of the 37th, Burns of the 23rd, Walker of the 3rd of the 20th, Alberts of the 56th, and others. A bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. Senate Bill 439 by Senator Estevez of the 6th, Orrick of the 36th, Halpern of the 39th, Parents of the 42nd, McLaurin of the 14th, and others. A bill to provide a homestead exemption from City of Atlanta Independent School District ad valorem taxes for educational purposes. Senate Bill 453 by Senator Payne of the 54th and Hostetler of the 52nd. A bill to transfer probation and intake services of the Juvenile Court of Gordon County to the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees the clerk will read.
Representative Chris Irwin of the 32nd District, Chairman of Committee on Education, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Education has had under its consideration the following bills to the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 579 do pass by substitute. House Bill 1104 do pass by substitute. House Bill 127 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Chris Irwin of the 32nd District, Chairman. Representative John LaHood of the 175th District, Chairman on Committee on Governmental Affairs, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Governmental Affairs has had under its consideration the following bills of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 1073 do pass. House Bill 1112 do pass. House Bill 1199 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 1207 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative John LaHood of the 175th District, Chairman. Representative Bill Werkheiser of the 157th District, Chairman on Committee on Industry and Labor, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Industry and Labor has had under its consideration following bills of the House and Senate and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 738 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 1125 do pass. Senate Bill 362 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Bill Werkheiser of the 157th District, Chairman. Representative Jones of the 25th District, Chairman of the Committee on Technology and Infrastructure Innovation, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Technology and Infrastructure Innovation has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. This instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 986 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jones of the 25th District, Chairman. Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District, Chairman on Committee on Ways and Means, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Ways and Means has had under its consideration following bills of the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with following recommendations. House Bill 971 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 1069 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Shaw Blackman in the 146th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Members, we'll move on to morning orders. We have two morning orders this morning. I'm going to recognize Representative Park Cannon first, but I also want to recognize Representative Carolyn Hughley. Representative Hughley, you have an important morning order.
Yeah, Maple canceled.
Where?
She canceled. So she's over at Park Atlanta. The time she's gonna come on Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Yeah.
Representative Park Cannon is recognized for a morning order. Lady will suspend just for a minute. Representative Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members. Today I wanted to bring to you a person who will be here at the Capitol from 12 to 2 today. His name is Dr. Elijah Nicholas. He is the founder of the 100 Black Trans Men organization. He is, of course, a visionary leader, but he's also a retired senior military officer. He has over 20 years of leadership experience and multiple degrees, one from the Harvard Divinity School. He's done 13 publications. He's actually an ordained pastor at Spirit and Truth Sanctuary, and he's really dedicated to educating leaders on the importance of conscious love. I think it's really important that we're here in this legislative session thinking consciously about the bills and resolutions we pass. As a 25-year U.S. veteran, he combines his healthcare administration experience and conscious-driven leadership style to advocate for health equity. Today, he will be here with a packet of information for each of you about how to advocate for health equity. And lastly, he just put out a book. It's called Madoodle. Not sure if we have the graphic for it. Maybe we can show it later. But Madoodle is a story about his life as a Black transgender person, and really helping people to understand that books don't have to be banned. They can actually be shared and help to create consensus. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Cannon, and thanks for the heads up on the other one. That completes our morning orders. We will move on to the rules calendar. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 988? 988.
House Bill 988 by Representative Thomas, the 21st to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 25 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Georgia Technology Authority so as to provide for an annual inventory of artificial intelligence usage by state agencies. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Technology Innovation, and that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay, members, we have several important pieces of policy legislation we need to consider this morning. So if you will, take your conversations to the back of this chamber and probably turn the volume down a notch or two on them as well. As soon as they get quiet, we'll get quiet. We'll go ahead and go. I want to hear you talk about Georgia Tech. Members will please take your seats. Representative Brad Thomas is recognized to present the bill. Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here to present House Bill 988, LC 560086S. This is the first piece of several artificial intelligence related policy that we're going to set forth in this state. So this is an exciting beginning to set policy on a brand new frontier. This one actually authorizes the Georgia Technology Authority to do several things. The first is it creates an audit of all state systems to verify what systems are using artificial intelligence. The second piece of this requires that the Georgia Technology Authority set policy for the use, and particularly when it comes to govern the procurement, implementation, and ongoing assessment of such systems by agencies, and to ensure that no such system results in any unlawful discrimination against any individual or group of individuals, which I think is important. With that being said, the only other requirement is they generate a report that's provided to the House and the Speaker and the Senate's office. With that, I'll yield for questions.
Gentleman has no questions. Did a good job.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I yield the well. Ask for your favorable consideration.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? The chair hears none. The committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 988, the yeas are 147, the nays are 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 874? 874.
House Bill 874 by Representative Hawkins, the 27th, to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 16 to Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to health so as to require automated external defibrillators in all schools. This bill having referred to the Committee on Health, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chairman Hawkins is recognized to present the bill. Chairman Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This past summer, I met with the American College of Cardiologists, Georgia chapter. They brought this bill to my attention. This bill includes K through grammar schools into present law that requires schools to have an AED. We're finding that we're losing kids at younger ages. Also, having an AED in all our schools protects all teachers and visitors to those schools. This bill does a couple other things that are very important. One, the schools will create an action plan, which they are doing now, the high schools. The grammar schools will also do this. This creates an internal response team, and also it requires 2 practices a year. As we all know, even physicians and dentists and nurses, every 2 years we've got to retake CPR because repetition is vitally important in times when people are really, for a better word, scared. Every second, every minute counts. So this is an important bill that will provide this protection for all schools, all school kids in the state of Georgia. That's the bill, Mr. Speaker, and if there are any questions.
Yes, does the gentleman yield for a couple of questions, looks like?
I will.
Representative Prince has a question to your extreme left. Chairman Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Is it not true that this legislation could possibly save a lot of lives, especially at athletic events for the middle school and those elementary school places?
Thank you for the question. It's absolutely right. Right now we have about a 70% rate of survival using AEDs. That doubles the rate that of survival without AEDs, just CPR.
Gentleman further yield. You have a couple more.
Yes, I do.
Representative Jasmine Clark to your left is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
First, I want to say thank you so much for bringing this legislation. I'm just curious, are there any schools right now in our state that do not have these AEDs?
That's a good question. There are 57 K through grammar schools that do not have AEDs. I have talked to the chairman of Education Appropriation, and the good chairman back there has got in his budget to have funds for these schools. So we will provide the AEDs to these schools.
That's great. Thank you very much for this legislation.
Thank you.
Gentleman yield for another question.
Yeah.
Representative
Yes.
Seabaugh has a question
Does the gentleman yield?
to your extreme
Oh, yes,
left.
I do.
I'm sorry.
Representative Hawkins, is it not true that sudden cardiac arrest can happen to anyone,
Yes.
including students, teachers, or visitors within a school, and that this bill, making AEDs readily available, allows for immediate response in the critical moments following a sudden cardiac arrest, and that will greatly improve the chances of survival?
It will. It
Does
will.
the gentleman further yield?
Yes.
Is it not true that Georgia's Good Samaritan laws offer protection from civil liability to rescuers as well as owners or operators who install or provide the AEDs?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
a great bill.
There are no further
No,
questions?
you have one more, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Chairman Dr. Hawkins, a question from Chairman Dr. Newton to your right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
He does.
I want to thank you for this legislation. Isn't it true that we will fill in some gaps in schools, especially primary and middle schools that may not have this? But
Right.
a crucial part of this bill was that plan that you briefly mentioned, that the effort to make sure they have a plan, and that many of our schools may be adding additional AEDs, which fortunately have come down from $4,000 to $1,500 or less.
Correct.
So that they'll be adding, once they do those plans and realize the distance from the basketball court to the football field to the playground may be significant, and that plan is a crucial part of your legislation. Isn't that true?
That's correct. Yeah, we expect that with practice twice a year, that the reaction time will be cut down to just a few minutes and save a lot more lives. So you're right.
That's
Thank you for
absolutely
the
true.
question.
And as you mentioned, the outcome with prompt defibrillation with an AED is dramatically different, including even for pro football players, like at a Buffalo Bills game a couple of years ago. Thank you, sir.
That's great. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you have, I promise, trust me, you have one final
more.
question. Would you take it?
Yes, sir.
The lady from Junction City, Georgia, Representative Buckner, has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
He does.
This is really telling a story so that this won't be forgotten. Is it not true that there was a lady in Columbus named Joe McDaniel years ago when AEDs first came out, because of her family's history with sudden heart attacks, put them everywhere she could find a place to put them, and raised the money and worked really hard, and she would be very proud and very supportive of this bill. So
Very
thank you.
true, and thank you for that comment. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Speaker, with no further questions, I ask for your support of this legislation.
Good job, Mr. Chairman. Gentleman has yielded the well. Good questions as well. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there an objection to adopting the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purpose does Chairman Collins rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true it's always a good idea to remind the members of this body that we have an AED located in the South Anteroom?
Is that a reminder? Think it
Yes,
is.
sir.
Appreciate that reminder. For what purpose does Chairman Powell rise? Chairman Allen Powell, you don't have a question? I just wanted to make sure you knew where the AED is. That's all I was making sure. So we're all fine. Have all members voted? Oh, don't go. We don't have to use that thing on you there. Slow down. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 874, the yeas are 151, the nay is 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 546?
House Bill 546 by Representative Jaspers, the 11th to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 2645 of the Official Code of Georgia and intended relating the definitions relative to the Georgia Pharmacy Practice Act so as to revise the definition of pharmacy care. This bill having referred to the Committee on Health, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chairman Jaspers is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I bring to you House Bill 546, the Pharmacy Adaptation Act. This is a common sense bill. I believe you'll agree with me when I get through. I'm very honored to do the occasional pharmacy bill because my dad was a pharmacist back in the old days when they called him Doc Jaspers, and we were very proud of that. So how many of y'all have been to an emergency room, a doctor's office, or unfortunately maybe an emergency clinic, and they prescribed a drug to help you get through the day or night or a few days? You go into the pharmacy and they don't have the exact thing. They've got the same thing, but they don't have the exact thing. And now you have to go somewhere on a little trip to try to find that exact prescription medicine. What this bill will do will help you with that problem. So you go to the clinic, they prescribe a 500 milligram antibiotic, whatever, 8 of them with a description of how to use it. You go to your pharmacy, but they're out of the 500s. This will allow them, with your permission and the physician's permission, to do a 250 milligram, 16 of them, with the directions and label how you're to appropriately take them. That's easy, common sense. The second thing it will do is, with the pharmacist, will be allowed to adjust the prescription for a maintenance drug. Now, many people take maintenance medication every day. And you know, if you do that, your pharmacy or the prescription benefit plan or whoever at a pharmacy is moving to 90-day prescriptions. Save you a trip, save them work also. That's been the trend. This will allow the pharmacist to adapt the prescription to fit that 90-day regime. It's very helpful. Yeah, I think you'll agree. There's some common sense safeguards to this bill. If the physician were to happen to write on it, no substitutions or changes made, there can be nothing done. You have to ask the patient, is it okay? Okay, that's good. And then the pharmacist has to make a record in their medical record that they've done this and document it so all can see. It's very common sense, very consumer friendly, and I'm glad to bring this pharmacy bill and hope you'll join me in voting in favor of this, members. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
The gentleman is yielded for a question. Representative Jasmine Clark, to your left, has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, a pharmacist will be able to now change the quantity that they're able to give or the amount of days, dosage days they're able to give. They're not able to necessarily change the prescription, though, because I just want to clarify that lines 43 through 49 don't allow that.
Excuse me, yes, ma'am. It's very clear they can't do that. That's the doctor's job.
All right. I just want to make sure because it said they can adapt the
Yes, ma'am.
prescription.
They adapt.
All right. Thank you.
Speaking of doctors, you have a question to your right. Chairman Newton is recognized for a question.
Thank you, seatmate.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate this bill. Isn't it true that previous, if this bill doesn't pass, that pharmacists' time would be taken away from other patients and other prescriptions for something as simple as a 500 milligram prescription that they only have the 250 milligram and they want to tell them to take 2 every 4 times a day instead of 1 4 times a day. And this bill will allow them that.
Absolutely.
Isn't that true?
And I think we all agree, my seatmate, that pharmacists want to help people. They want to engage. They want to spend time, and this will allow them to spend more time.
And further inquiry, further question,
Yes,
isn't it true the 90 days that you mentioned is so crucial to good adherence and compliance with their physician, their advisor's order, and that by following that, by the pharmacist being able to assist in the teamwork approach, that it'll make a big difference in how people's health stays strong?
Absolutely. The gentleman knows what he speaks.
Thank you, sir, for the bill.
Thank you.
One more of those. Chairman Hawkins has a little medical background, and he has a question.
This gentleman yield.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Isn't it true that pharmacists have 8 years of post-secondary education, have to pass national boards, state boards, continuation of CE courses, and have a great knowledge of all medications and prescriptions?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. And also, they do this profession because they care about people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have no further questions?
Thank you. I yield the well and ask you to vote favorably. Thank you.
Good job. The chairman has yielded the well. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 546. The yeas are 155, the nays are 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 872? 872.
House Bill 872 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, being titled an act to amend Chapter 34, Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to medical professions for rural assistance, so as to expand the service cancelable loan program for physicians and other health care providers. This bill then referred to the Committee on Public and Community Health. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Mr. Chairman, you'll be worn out. I'm glad the weekend's upon us with all your activity here this morning. So let's see what you can do with this one. Chairman Hawkins is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. HB 872 is addressing a problem we have in this state, a well-known problem, that is getting healthcare personnel out into the rural areas. It's been a challenge. And this, in some small way, will address that challenge. This bill actually is improving on an existing dental loan repayment program. So it's not adding anything to the budget, but rather directing a senior student to notify him or her that they have been accepted for the loan repayment program. This is before they go to the rural areas. So the idea is this will enhance some of these people to go into the rural areas. And also it notifies them that they'll have 4 years of loan help with this program. So these loans are for $25,000 a year. So it helps them with average debts of $260,000. It helps knock some of that down, and we really think this will help get people out into our rural areas. Mr. Speaker, that's the bill. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions. The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there an objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Chair hears none. The committee's substitute is adopted. Is there an objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 872. The yeas are 150, the nays are 3. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1058, 1058?
House Bill 1058 by Representative McDonald, the 26th and others, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40(1)(8) of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to safe operations of motor carriers, commercial motor vehicles, and drivers, and safe transportation of hazardous materials. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Motor Vehicles, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Governor's Floor Leader, Representative Lauren McDonald, is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today I bring you House Bill 1058. 1058 is the annual codification of the certification given down from the federal government to our motor compliance to vehicle division. I was honored to be able to carry this bill over Chairman Meeks. It was a tough contest to see who was going to get to carry it, but I was chosen to do it. The only thing it changes is lines 14 and 15. We changed from January 1st, 2023 to January 1st of 2024. Mr. Speaker, if no questions, I yield the well.
Gentleman, yield for a question.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Meeks, to your right, has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
I must have been unavailable whenever the legislation was delivered, but could you tell us one more time what MCCD stands for?
Motor Carrier Division, Compliance Carrier Division.
You might want to reread the bill.
Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Gentlemen, yield the will. Y'all go figure that out. Y'all can arm wrestle in the corner for whatever you want to do on that one. Is there an objection? The gentleman yielded the well. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 1058. The yeas are 152, the nays are 0. This bill received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Members, I hope you'll join with me We usually don't have this opportunity to show our appreciation, but Dr. Cooper has come into the chamber, so let's give Dr. Cooper a round of applause for being our Doctor of the Day. Dr. Cooper is a pediatrician in Duluth, so we're glad to have him with us today. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to SB 353, Senate Bill 353?
Senate Bill 353 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th and Dixon of the 45th, to be entitled an act to amend Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to highways, bridges, and ferries to amend weight and dimension requirements for modular unit transporters. This bill having referred to the Committee on Transportation. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Brad Thomas is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many of you might recognize this bill. It was previously a bill called House Bill 52, and as my good friend once said, it was Cinco de Vetoed, thanks to some language that was put in the Senate. This bill actually corrects that. We have language that the governor's office, the Senate, and the House all agree on. So it's Senate Bill 353, SB 353-FA. Section 1, it strikes the use of regular mail and adds email notification methods. Section 2 allows for continuous conversations during the RFP process, basically allowing to refine proposals. Section 3 does the alternative contracting method. It says that you can do one project over a 100-year period. That was the big change from HB 52. HB 52 was just one time. They thought that wasn't clear, so that was one of the major changes. Section 4 extends trailer lengths to 84 feet, which is in alignment with other states, and these are for modular trailers, so the weight impact is really negligible from that addition. Section 5 allows a county medical examiner to delegate their power on limited access roads, just to ensure that we can reduce the disruption and flow of traffic. And finally, Section 6 ensures private driver data doesn't inadvertently get released by CERTA. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll take questions.
The gentleman has no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for your favorable consideration, and I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 353, the yeas are 152, the nays are 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Okay, members, House Bill 424 will be postponed to the next legislative day. For what purpose does Representative Stinson rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I move that the rules be temporarily suspended so that a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Stinson of the 150th and others, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 4286 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to special license plates promoting or supporting certain worthy agencies, funds, or nonprofit corporations.
On the lady's motion that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended so a bill can be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? It's assigned to motor vehicles. That concludes the rules calendar. We'll move on to afternoon orders. We have a couple of afternoon orders. We'll recognize Representative Mac Jackson and Representative Al Williams. I think they're going to have a audio and a visual afternoon order. So, gentlemen, representatives, you are recognized for your afternoon order.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Now
thank you,
you're
Mr.
on.
Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, in the 2022 session, we passed House Resolution 881. And this resolution encourages public schools to study the civil rights era and to share the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King. Matt Daniels and Chris Bazard, along with McGraw-Hill Publishing Company, have developed the curriculum for this study. On January 13th, we gave the first scholarships to students here that attended HBCUs. We were able to give out 5 scholarships of students who had studied the curriculum of Share the Dream. And we have a video that we want to show you that some NBA players have partnered with McGraw-Hill because of these scholarships, and it's the Andrew Young Scholarship. And these scholarships are being given all over the United States of America. But at this time, we want to show you a video, if you'll pay attention to the screen. All right, we apologize, the audio didn't come on, but these are some NBA players and some ex-NBA players who are endorsing this Share the Dream project. Also, the curriculum is for churches, and there's also a curriculum for school system. If you'll see me, I'll be able to get you the curriculum for the church or for the school, either one that you would like. Thank you. We yield the well.
Gentlemen and members, we appreciate that order, and we apologize the video did not come on with the audio. If we get it fixed, we'll do it another day. How about that? We can do that. Representative Becky Evans is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I wanted to bring attention to the flyer on your desk today that's addressed. It's by a pediatric trauma surgeon, Alexis Smith. And for the first time in modern medicine in 2022, firearm injuries surpassed car accidents and childhood cancer as the leading cause of death in children and adolescents. And from 2019 to 2020, firearm-related deaths of all types, suicides unintentional, among children and adolescents increased 29.5% in 2 years. An analysis of the data shows that 9 in every 100,000 children die from firearm injuries in the state of Georgia every year, and that is 50% more than the national average, which again is 6 in every 100,000 children. And when you compare that to states with more robust gun laws, such as New York or New Jersey, children in Georgia die of firearm injuries at rates 4.5 times that as in New York and New Jersey. And in Europe, no other peer country in Europe has firearm injuries listed among the top 5 causes of death in children. A child in Georgia dies from firearm injuries at a rate approximately 15 times more than children in Canada and 30 times more than children in France. In recent years, pediatric trauma surgeons in America are seeing a rising number of penetrating injuries from firearms in our pediatric trauma bays. This number is rising at alarming rates and has reached levels that are overwhelming our pediatric trauma units. I ask that this body do our part by passing safe gun ownership laws and use our influence in the public to practice and demonstrate safe gun ownership. Thank you.
That concludes our afternoon orders. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Honoring the life and memory of Alfonso Boone.
Proceed.
Honoring the life and memory of Alfonso Boone, Sr. Honoring the life and memory of Henry C. Baker, Sr. and Ethel Virginia Almeida Ogden Baker. Recognizing and commending Pam Joyner for her work on behalf of the children of Berrien County. Commending Dr. Fahamu Peku. Commending the Builder Owners and Managers Association of Georgia Foundation. And recognizing and commending the Empowerment Resource Center Incorporated upon its 13th annual Hats Off to Women Symposium. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? Chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. Okay, members, listen up. We have a couple of announcements. Chairman Corbett is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Motor Vehicles Committee will meet at 8 a.m. Tuesday morning, room 606, CLOB. Thank you.
Representative Davis is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's Environmental Justice Day at the Capitol. There will be an Environmental Justice press conference at the South Steps today at 12:30. I say again, Environmental Justice press conference today at 12:30. Join us as we celebrate Environmental Justice Day.
Thank you, Representative Davis. Chairman Collins is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Immediately upon adjournment, the House Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee will meet in room 506 CLOB. There will be a brief 2A subcommittee meeting, and then we'll roll into full committee. Members, if y'all will hang in there with me, we'll be done in about an hour.
Okay, members, your work is not done. Representative Jason Ridley is recognized for an announcement.
Regulated Industry Subcommittee on Occupational and Professional Licensing, 606, immediately upon adjournment, CLOB. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Mac Jackson, co-chair of the Rural Development Council, is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We want to recognize some senior citizens that are here today from Fulton County.
Fulton and Douglas County.
From Fulton County. Won't you stand so that we can recognize you? I have my sister up there and one of my home people from Sandersville, Georgia, up there with them from Fulton County. Thank you for coming to your state capital. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We appreciate y'all leaving God's country down in Sandersville and coming to Atlanta. Good to have y'all in the People's House. That concludes our announcements. Now we have a couple of birthdays and a thank you. Representative Almighty Holly has a birthday today. Representative Holly, let's see it. Happy birthday, young man. On Monday, February the 19th, Chairman Bill Werkheiser has a birthday. He looks excited about that, doesn't he? I'm not forgetting you. Don't worry. Now, today is also a special day, and I want to say thanks to Representative Sheila Jones. Wait just a minute. Hold it. She, not you, them. She also bought lunch for us yesterday, and that was awesome. And celebrated her. Happy birthday, Representative Jones. We appreciate you. Someone may have dropped a phone. has a beautiful little Yorkshire Terrier puppy on it. I believe that's what that is. We have it, so if anyone's lost a phone in the chamber, we'll help keep it up here. We do have pages today. So if you have a page, we'll ask you to make your way down front for the page photos. Well, we have no further business. I hope y'all have a safe and enjoyable weekend, long weekend, and we'll be back here as directed by the majority leader. The majority leader of this House is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, February 20th, 2024.
On the motion of the majority leader that this House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. Tuesday, February the 20th, 2024. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. This House is adjourned.